Rebuilt a lot of sections of wall in San Diego and a lot of areas. We're starting a big brand new section. We spent $1.6 billion, then another $1.6 billion. Unfortunately, sadly, because of the Democrats' obstruction, only $1.6 billion. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. You know where I am. I could knock it out because I do that well. That's what I do well. I build. We could knock that wall out in 1 year if they gave us the funds.
Here now, Texas Congressman Jodey Arrington. Congressman, good of you to be here. What do you make of his comments about the border wall? Because he's, quite frankly, also upset with some Republicans who didn't include that full border wall funding in that giant omnibus spending bill from earlier this year.
Well, as a member of Congress from the great state of Texas and the perspective of being along the border, we appreciate and respect the president's position. That's one of the reasons the people of this country elected him, because he was going to put first things first, and border security is national security. We did get some money for the wall and some money for other security measures like technology and boots on the ground. By the way, it's a comprehensive package, and I support physical barriers where they make sense, and we need a whole lot of resources for the president to do that job. He needs more of them. We're in negotiations. We still need 10 Democrats to agree in the Senate because of that 60-vote rule. So it's going to be tough sledding to get that money. We need to make sure we don't play politics with getting the resources and tools to our military so that they can do their job safely and successfully. But no, the president's right on. And again, that's why he's our commander-in-chief, because he's putting the safety of our citizens and the sovereignty of our country first.
Good morning, Congressman. This is Morgan Ortegas. Explain to me, the president said last night that he's been promised more money by Congress after the midterms. Even in the best case scenario, if the Republicans were to keep the House and the Senate, they're still going to keep it by theoretically in the House less seats than they have now. So won't it be harder to get the president the money that he wants for the border wall after the midterms? I don't understand the logic from Republican leadership there.
Well, I think, again, the first responsibility is to make sure that our armed services have the resources. And that's why they're putting the Homeland Security funding, sort of postponing that until after the election. But you're right. We still need Democrat support in the Senate as long as you have the 60-vote rule. And so you're going to have to negotiate probably more spending on other non-security related domestic programs in order to get the money for the wall and other border security ideas and initiatives. So, yeah, I think it is going to be, like I said, it's going to be a challenge regardless of how the election shakes out because of that 60-vote rule. It's not the House. The House has passed just about every measure that would give the president what he needs to do that job, not just of securing the border, but stopping illegal immigration by enforcing the law, closing loopholes, moving to away from chain migration and away from the lottery to more of a merit-based immigration system. We've done that in the House. The problem is the Senate and the 60-vote rule. So you're right.
Turning to technology, the Wall Street Journal out with this astonishing report that Google employees discussed tweaking its search function after President Trump's travel ban early in his term, trying to point people to pro-immigration groups, also proposing ways to leverage search functions to tweak the search results to even show people how to contribute to pro-immigration organizations. This is manipulation of its users that they didn't know about potentially. Now, these ideas never went into practice, Congressman, but what do you say to this censorship? This censorship by a company which has a liability waiver from user-generated content, so it can't get sued, but now we're finding out, oh, you are a media company that is potentially trying to manipulate the way people think and what they see and read.
Unfortunately, I'm not surprised. I agree it is manipulation. I think it's potentially unfair and deceptive trade practices. There are already laws on the books there. What I want to make sure that we don't do is have this Democrat knee-jerk sort of net neutrality. Let's regulate the Internet on account of this, other than making sure private companies like Google disclose their practices. Look, if they're going to bias the search results based on their algorithm, and they're going to guide people in their search unbeknownst to the consumer, then that's a problem. If they disclose what they're doing and their political bias, then the consumer has a choice to use other search engines, and I think that's as it should be. The problem is when it's deceptive. The problem is when it's being manipulated unbeknownst to the customer.
It's abuse of people's private information. Google also, Emily, I want to get your response to this as well. Google also telling lawmakers it still allows companies to scan data from Gmail accounts. So again, they controlled 90% of search. They control, along with Facebook, about 2/3 of all advertising on the internet, and they're not being truthful about what is being discussed at this company and what they are doing to users and with their private information.
Right, and this is a huge challenge for especially conservative lawmakers going forward, is what is their conservative solution to this problem, because it involves inevitably regulating private companies. And so the disclosure proposal that the congressman just mentioned, it sounds great, but then again, you have to take a look at it and say, is this what we want government doing in the private sphere? It may well be the solution, but it is not an easy question for conservatives to consider. What are the steps that we can take to rein in this obvious bias?
And I want to talk about bias because of where you work. Doug Weed, who's a frequent guest on the Fox Business Network, wrote on the Federalist that this is, I think it was in August, that he wanted to buy an ad to promote an interview he did on the Fox Business Network. Right. He says a Google employee told him that the crawl on the bottom of the screen, because it said the Mueller investigation was a witch hunt, quoting President Trump, that was hate speech. and that they cracked down on him. So there are all these individual instances of abuse, of call it censorship. I know it's not government, but them of silencing conservative voices and manipulation. And Jack Brewer, I think that they're in for a world of hurt, particularly because they didn't send the CEO to testify in front of Congress.
I agree, and I'm not for regulation, but at what point you're going to have to at some point regulate these online companies. I mean, companies like Google and Facebook, their algorithms are going to always continue to be more and more complex. So there's no way that us as a customer or even the government at hand can really oversee this. It's over everyone's head. No one understands it, and it's always evolving.
But they always blame the algorithms, the non-transparent algorithms. But based on this story and other stories that we've read about censorship, about them silencing conservative voices, there are workers at play, workers cooking up ideas about, oh, travel ban, let's try and push people to pro-immigration not-for-profits and get them to contribute money. Again, it didn't happen, but nevertheless, it was proposed by people within Google.